Hello. Oh, and immediately Discord breaks. Are we good? We're good. Yep. It was fine for the last 15 minutes, and then I clicked to go live, and then Discord immediately just decides to have a seizure. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Blizzard Comedy Profiles. I am joined by the wonderful Katie Mitchell here, who you may recognise from such shows as Blizzard Comedy's Broadcast Avalanche and her own podcast, A Fun Time. Is it a fun time? I always go to say a lovely time, but it's a fun time with Katie and Leslie, isn't it?
It's also a lovely time. It is a fun time with Katie and Leslie.
The show is called A Fun Time with Katie and Leslie, but if you're looking for a lovely time rather than a fun time, you also go check it out.
You're not on your own with that, because one of the previous episodes we hired the guy who shouts Mortal Kombat in the Mortal Kombat theme tune, and
nice.
He got the name of the podcast wrong as well, and we paid him to say it.
That might be why I thought. Oh, that's amazing! I thought it was just an impression. That's amazing.
Oh no, yeah, he's on Cameo. We looked it up as a joke, and we were like, oh, it's 25 quid, and the money goes to anti-human trafficking stuff, and you get the Mortal Kombat guy. So
that's amazing. That is brilliant. I did not know that. I'm definitely going to store that information for future use. For those who haven't listened to the podcast before, what we're going to do is we're just going to be doing a deep dive into Katie Mitchell's history with comedy, anything she's working on now, and just her whole kind of philosophy on, for want of a better word, on comedy and indeed life as a whole. So any questions are fine. If you want to ask any questions in the chat, I will try and forward them to Katie. We'll be going for about an hour. My Discord is still freaking out, but the stream looks fine. So if there's any graphical issues, do please let me know, because I have no idea what's going on anymore. I'm trying to stream this with Discord rather than Zoom, and I'm already regretting that. So I should just pay for a fucking Zoom premium at the end of the day. Right, yes, so let's get cracking. So I usually start these interviews with a fairly open-ended question, so don't get too bogged down in trying to provide a really accurate answer, but just any things that come to mind. So what is your earliest experience in actually enjoying comedy? So not necessarily doing it yourself, but just as something that you might enjoy, yeah.
Yeah, no, so I was raised by my grandparents, so I was pretty much brought up on UK TV Gold, so...
Okay, yeah.
So a lot of the really classic stuff like Morecambe and Wise and Two Ronnies I really enjoyed. The first, obviously Ronnie Corbett had his little stand-up bits where he did it sat in a chair. That didn't really interest me. I think the first stand-up comedian I was properly aware of was Ross Noble. When I was about 11.
That does not surprise me.
Let me watch them for the first time. Yeah, and it changed my entire life. I loved him so much. Oh no, wait! Earliest one. I've just realised. Earliest one was my aunt lent my granddad a Flanders and Swan CD, who are a musical duo from the 19. Yeah. 50s and 60s. And,
those are the ones that are parodied in those Armstrong and Miller sketches, aren't they? That's who's that meant to be, yeah.
And I was in primary school, so I would have been about 7 or 8 probably. And I listened to that and absolutely loved it. And stole that CD, and I think I've still got it in my grandparents' house. I still know that album, A Drop of the Hat, back to front. I remember I've got a very specific memory of, I think I was looking for something in the bottom of the wash basket in my bedroom, and I fell in, and so I was just about 7 or 8 years old and trapped upside down in this basket just as they started, there was the one swear on that thing, and I was like, I'm in so much trouble. I'm upside down, and the man on the CD just said the word bloody.
Oh no. Oh goodness.
And then I managed to get myself out of the basket and no one had heard, and I was like, oh, I've got away with it.
Okay, your life of comedic anarchy started there.
Yeah.
Love it. Just had a couple of messages in the Twitch chat. Safi Bish Lasagna says, "Can I just say both you two's makeup is great, both looking so pretty." Thank you very much, Safi. We very much appreciate that. You can't. Is this an inappropriate time to say? Well, if you think we're pretty, give us money. But you are already a patron, so that would feel that would feel a bit mean, because you literally already are giving us money for that. So thank you very much for that. Mark Salmon's in the chat. Hello, thanks for joining. So yes, I will. Yeah, so I will be looking at the Twitch chat if you've got any questions you want to ask. But otherwise I'll be focusing mainly on the conversation. So if I don't respond to every message, please do not get mad at me. I will address them all. I should probably just address them all at the end. Go through them that way to avoid interrupting the flow, and also not speak out my own administrative process. That's also interrupting the flow. So yeah, those are your earliest comedy memories. That's So what kind of things were on UK TV Gold? Because that was a thing that I completely missed growing up. Like, it was around, but I just never really knew. I never really associated it with a comedy thing. I never knew what was on it. So, are there any particular?
A lot of Only Fools and Horses.
Right, fair. So, was it a lot of kind of like repeats and like kind of classic stuff on there?
Yeah, and like, every Christmas we watch all of the Morecambe and Wise, and we watch it and it's on TV anyway. I know there was like a show called The Comedians, which had like stand up in the 70s and 80s, and then a lot of Victoria Wood stuff, Dinner Ladies.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of like Keeping Up Appearances, but yeah, stuff around that kind of era was always on UK TV Gold. So and that was the stuff which my grandparents liked. My granddad was really into the Goons, so I listened to those CDs when I was a kid. They went on to inspire Pythons and a lot of my granddad got me a massive book of like Spike Milligan's animal poems.
Oh, nice. I feel like my dad might have the same book actually. I remember seeing it on the shelf. Yeah.
So there was that, and I think those are like my earliest comedy memories, and then just the CBBC, CBBC stuff like Sorry I've Got No Head, and
I forgot about that one.
Stupid. Oh my God, Nick Mohammed just got nominated for an Emmy, and I'm so
did
happy
he?
for him.
Oh, that's amazing. And Stupid as well. I remember that. That's probably the first sketch show I ended up watching. The first one that I ended up watching off my own back. I feel like I may have been in a room when my family were watching like Little Britain or League of Gentlemen or those kind of things. But like Stupid is the first one that I remember actively like going to watch it when it was on. I completely forgot about that. It's probably not good if I can watch it again, but.
Oh no! Sorry, I've Got No Head holds up completely.
Yeah.
And
I suppose like kids comedy probably will, because I mean it's got to be kind of like tamer for even the sensibilities of the time anyway. So I guess kids comedy probably holds up a lot better than a lot of the more adult sketch shows at the time.
And I think also like it has to go further with originality, because you can't go on the kind of the rudeness or sex stuff.
No, yeah, exactly.
But you can't kind of fall back on that because you're not allowed to. So you have to kind of, keep up like a level of content. You've got to do it every.
It does, and then it's always and like I remember like the outfits and the characters are always really like proper, like it's kind of taking up to 11. But in a more kind of accessible way rather than just like Little Britain, which is obviously just stereotypes. It's a lot more kind of surreal, over the top. I feel like a lot of Stupid in that kind of genre, and I guess like Horrible Histories now is the same kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
although obviously with a bit
sure.
more, a bit more kind of grounded in not even grounded in reality, but like just different inspirations.
It's interesting, like thinking about it and how influential that was, because I really like big costumes, and I don't do material about sex. I
was going to say.
I just realised I hadn't realised that I'm basically just recreating stand-up comedy that could be children's TV in 2010.
You are, yeah. That's amazing, and if you can pull that off, you can get there's like a huge market in that, like which I would not be able to do at all. I cannot censor my language at all, and I don't think I could write about stuff that would be accessible to kids, because I always wanted to do that kind of like silly surreal kind of Python writing, but I because that's what I found funny, but I was never something that I really excelled at. Like I spent the first few years just trying to be Eddie Izzard badly, And then there's still a bit of that in there, but I feel like I went more the kind of the more kind of satirical route rather than the more kind of like, this is a character, this is an idea, this is nonsense, let's just go with that. I've never been able to make that work. But I feel like that's something you like. I mean, I've only seen one video of you performing stand up, and that was at XS. And like, yeah, purely from that, like, you had a character that was it just Vlad the Impaler just doing stand up for a bit, or?
And he had like a whole character arc in
he did,
the show I had, Shootmasters.
Even more, right?
But like even more. But yeah, that was kind of that was a stupid bit. So the character is, what if Vlad the Impaler was a stand-up comedian? And I think a lot of my best bits are me taking the piss out of the conventions of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
But like Vlad in particular is very much like a one-liner, or like an edgy one-liner comedian, which is my least favorite style of stand-up comedy. But to be fair, like, I tech an open mic night, so we see a lot of them. And yeah, Vlad was, just like the pun was, it had to be shit, and I had to work really hard for it, and it had to be big. And I had a lot of fun with Vlad. I got weirdly jealous because I thought people liked Vlad more than me, even though he's a character I made up. Which is a wonderful little kind of head fuck.
Yeah, it is. It must be. How was it writing sort of stand up in the character of someone else? That must be really weird, because you're kind of, I mean, like, you're not like making fun of him in the sense of like, you're just like, oh yeah, that fucking Vlad the Impaler needs to be taken down a couple of pegs, like, but like you are making fun of, as you say, that particular type of stand up in that way, and it must be. Is that different to writing any other stand up, or do you have to try and write as the character, or is it, I don't know? Does that make any sense? There's almost a question there.
Finds it easier writing as characters than as Katie Mitchell, because so the past few, so basically, backstory, I just came out as a lesbian. For the past 2 years, I was massively suppressing that part of my personality because it was massively inconvenient, because I was living with my boyfriend. But it's been a thing for a while where, like, if it's like, oh, just be yourself, and I'm like, oh, and like, especially like if I am feeling down and I just like, I don't have a personality, when like clearly I do. Whereas if I'm writing as a character, especially like with Vlad, I remember coming up with like a few pages of jokes for them, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, so it's bad pun that we have to work on with the word Vlad in it, and he needs to be like, he's a bit misogynistic,
it's a different time.
Yeah, in She Festus,
none of this woke PC nonsense.
In She Festus, he was a like closeted gay man who was like wrapped up in toxic masculinity, and it was nice to see those kind of, because there was like a stepping stones and like a defined storyline, whereas with, you know, just talking about my life, it doesn't line up in the same way. So I kind of find that a bit more difficult. But I mean, Vlad was a big character and fairly easy to write. I'm talking about him in a lot of depth, considering in the thing you probably saw 3 Vlad jokes, which I can't remember what they were. Vlad was definitely the first one. It's been so long since I've used him in a set. It's, I've been having to use that video to kind of apply for stuff. I haven't done a gig for so long, but that video's from January 2019, and I was like, oh, this was out of date even before the pandemic.
Oh dear, yeah, that's. I'm someone who like obsessively records all of their gigs, so I don't. I mean, I have that problem only because I gig very rarely, like before doing Blizzard, where I was like hosting usually every month, or like at least every other month, so I had a lot of up-to-date videos that way, but like before then, I like it's not that I didn't film my gigs. I just like the last gig I did was like 3 years ago. So that's the problem I have with that. Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I started gigging when I first started gigging. They were really far between as well, because there's not much of a open mic scene in Nottingham. There's or like in the area you have to travel, and I started when I was 18 and I was broke. Like, I wasn't even a student yet, so kind of traveling around wasn't worth it. So I just did it a lot in kind of
I feel that
normal music open mics, and that went about as well as you might expect.
Manchester. I mean, I started when I was still living in London, and like there's a million like open mic comedy nights in London. But then when I moved to Manchester, I think there was probably only one true open mic comedy night in Manchester. That's Comedy Balloon. And then there were like a bunch of the kind of like semi-pro nights that would have like maybe 1 or 2 open spots every month. And then otherwise, there wasn't really a kind of progression system. So we did end up I studied. For those of you who haven't already heard this story many times, I studied comedy writing and performance at Salford University, and I think our year may have been responsible for starting one of the, I don't want to say biggest because that makes it sound impressive, but certainly one of the inexplicably long-running open mic nights, despite being not good. Just because, we met this music promoter who is an absolutely lovely guy, but didn't know the first thing about hosting comedy nights, and then he just started putting comedy on his music nights, which were not good because there's that whole thing of like people go to a pub just because they want a drink, and there's just a stage, and like if you've got a music open mic night, people can kind of like vicariously enjoy that while still doing their own thing. But when comedy's on, like they can't do that the same way. They'll either get called out because they're talking to their mates in like they just wanted the night out in the pub. They didn't want to watch like a fucking 18-year-old tell 5 minutes of dick jokes.
Like, any time where I've turned up to a gig and it's been in the same room as other people drinking, I'm on the people drinking side. They didn't sign up for this.
No, absolutely.
Turn up with a noisy thing and make them be quiet, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I used to be a dick about it, but like...
Yeah. No, I get it.
And
there are those gigs they are fun to do if you take them at face value, like if you take them as what they are, just being like, okay, this isn't good. There's no point in me just doing my Like, there's no point in me working on my set here. I might as well just try and do something really like fucking weird and outlandish. And like it was those kind of nights when I started just like ditching the microphone entirely and just start like one. Like I remember one. It was placed in the Tiger Lounge where I just decided to do the set in the middle of the fucking bar, because there were like two audience members there and they were about to leave anyway. And I was like, there's no point in me getting up on stage. Like I'm just gonna yell my set to everyone from here. And then that was a whole thing. Like.
Oh, I miss just like getting in the audience. I used to.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that. I mean, that was retired anyway.
Yeah.
But because it was a pain in the ass.
I bet it was. Yeah, especially for traveling.
So the bit I'm referring to is I had. It was a fairly old bit, but I would have a big painting which I did of a older woman, who looked like a very stern-looking Victorian woman, like this oil painting. And like in Scooby-Doo where they cut the eyes out, I cut the nose out and I put my nose through and just went and like sniffed people in the audience. And
see, on video I wasn't sure what was happening there. I didn't realise there was a hole in it.
Yeah, no, so there's a hole in the painting, and I would like put my nose through it and sniff people in the audience through the painting, and I would move kind of very animalistically and just go like completely apeshit. And then, just hold it in front of me. And I would do stuff like put my mouth through the nose hole, which looks absolutely terrifying, and like steal people's drinks. And I stole someone's hat with my teeth at one point. Which was when I was supporting the men that will not be blamed for nothing. And I decided to do that bit in like a music gig with like 400 people. But that bit is like so illegal and dangerous now. It was It was already retired because I left it in Che Burnley's car, and he lives in Liverpool, and I had to get the train to Liverpool and back, which took 12 hours.
Yeah.
To go and get it because I needed it for a gig.
12 hours? Fucking hell, that's... Is it because do you have to, like, go...
Sunday.
Yeah, oh, right,
well.
fair, yeah.
Um...
My geography's terrible as well. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's like just around the corner from where you live, and like, no, that's literally the other side of the country.
I'm right in the middle.
Just because it's still west doesn't mean it's near to where I
am. Yeah. So that was one of the deciding factors that I really love prop-based comedy, and I love Vic and Bob, and I did an art degree, and so I'm very kind of tuned into things which are pretty and useful, and you can do things with them.
Yeah.
But as a traveling comic, they are an absolute pain in the arse.
I bet they are. Yeah.
For She Festers, because so that was my first proper solo show. I'd done a couple of things kind of like it before, but that was my first proper solo show, and I managed to blag doing it for my fine art degree and
nice.
Performance art. And the whole way through they were like, no, it's not working, but it was really good, and you give me goalposts and or what's it called, like the hoop jumping sheet, and I was like, I can jump hoops. I won't do it in the way you want me to, but I will do it. I ended up getting full marks on that degree, so I was kind of like,
fuck it. That's the best thing about art degrees. Like, it's just about how much you can bullshit.
For sure, I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
Like I ended up redoing all of my uni work for it 2 days before the deadline, but it was worth it.
Like if anyone who hasn't done an art if anyone who hasn't done an art degree starts talking shit on art degrees now, and I'm like, oh, it's just pointless. Why would you waste 3 years and however much money doing this? I will defend them to the death. But with other people who've done art degrees, well, like, yeah, no, it's just about bullshitting. That's all it.
I did one of my favorite comedy things I've ever done was I submitted a 12-word essay with and made sure the title was longer, so the title took up this much of the page, which is like something about meaningfulness in comedy, comparing Feet of Clay by Terry Pratchett and Paul Foot's Shire Horse routine.
Oh, nice.
And then and that was in like a big swirly font for like 3/4 of the page, and the essay was who gives a shit, just be funny. And then I had like word count 7, but on every word I had a footnote, and I wrote the whole essay in the footnotes. And I made every single word.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Paragraph.
Oh,
it was good.
Have you still got this? I kind of want to read it.
Yeah, sure, I'll send it.
Yeah, send it over.
And like I got away with it because I went above and beyond to I listened to the comedian podcast with Paul Foot, and like pretty much typed out like the most important things and transposed it, included that. I had diagrams. I photocopied like relevant pages of the books. It ended up being like the 7-word essay was like that thick.
That's amazing.
Just for kind of justifying it, but no, it was. The thing was, it was over the word limit and under the word limit, so it could have been
fucking genius. Yeah.
I'm shitting myself. But also, yeah, if I'd have just I had to have done that well for it to work, and I feel like that says a lot about art degrees. That if they like you taking risks. But it does have to pay off.
Well, yeah, that's it. If it pays off, it's like a really brave risk. If it doesn't, you're just being an idiot. Like, there's no kind of middle ground with that. Val, I went on a lot of tangents from original questions there. So
sure.
Gonna sort of scale it back in a narrative a bit. So so I wanted to ask about. We've kind of already covered that, actually. So, yeah, okay. We've covered what it is that kind of the first comedy that interested you as a fan of comedy. So when was it that you first decided that it was something that you wanted to do? And tell us about your kind of journey to doing that first gig. Or whatever medium your first kind of comedy outing was, whether it was something different entirely.
I wrote... So, yeah, Ross Noble was my first favorite comedian. And from there, I kind of got into the Brit comedy scene as much as I could. Like, I watched all of the Edinburgh things you could get on, like BBC. Was it BBC Three Extra on the red
I think
button?
so. Yeah.
And anything I could find on YouTube, all of the Russell Howard Good News Extra bit.
Oh, they were great. Yeah.
There needs to be something like that. Like,
there really does. Yeah, because he still got his own show, but I don't think he does that anymore. Yeah.
But like the Paul Foot Shire Horse routine, I cited it from that Russell Howard Good News Extra thing, because like it's such a good archive, and we need something else like that.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's a perfect capsule of because I think where I saw Doc Brown, Tony Law, who became like one of my biggest influences from that.
Tony Law.
Yeah, he's absolutely incredible. It's really really good sort of capsule into like who was like, I guess at our kind of level on the circuit now, back in like the late 2000s, like a bit higher than that, but yeah, it's.
And then what was it? Oh yeah, I really love the Mighty Boosh, and I had a big.
Again, that is not surprising.
And yeah, just kind of ticking along, and I thought that I wanted to do it, and I had the inevitable. I was either going to be a stand-up comedian or a rock star or a paleontologist. And 3 options.
The 3 genders, yeah.
3 genders, which is so yeah, one of those 3, and I and that kind of came to a head when I discovered Andrew O'Neill, who has been like the biggest influence.
Yeah.
Because he was doing stand-up-y stuff, but with that kind of like Noel Fielding edge. I hadn't discovered Noel Fielding stand-up at that point.
No.
And
what they always remind me. I don't know if you've ever seen much of Harry Hill's stand-up, but it's that kind of.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
God, they're just great. But they were. I think. Yeah, I remember discovering them when I was. I think. I was about 14, and I was doing a project on steampunk for my textiles degree.
Nice.
Not degree, my GCSE. Opposite end of the spectrum. And I found a lot of like Steam Powered Giraffe and Voltaire and that kind of stuff, and then I founded their band, and I was like, oh, this is steampunk, which is actually a bit punky.
Yeah.
Love this. And I was like, a lot of their songs are quite funny, and 2 of them are comedians.
Yeah.
And then I found Andrew's Occult Comedian show, and I never seen anything like it. Like, I would like introduce me to occultism and like a weirder form of stand-up comedy that I'd never seen. And God, I remember like the next day going up to my friend Josie in school, like,
yeah,
I didn't know you did. So really just got into that, and then that was a time when I was like, because I was a big fan of loads of different kinds of comedy, and that was kind of like a big smushing of a lot of the forms.
Yeah,
a lot of my early comedy is just Andrew O'Neill ripoff. Like,
yeah, I have a. Oh, go on, sorry.
Yeah, and it's something that happens when you're a new stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, I see so many like James Acaster.
So many James Acasters, yeah.
And it happens, and
yeah.
And I'm kind of, at the time, like, I was really embarrassed about it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of on the verge, and also, like, past few years I've got into Australian comedy quite a lot, and so that has been, like, another tempering influence.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic scene over there, yeah.
And Auntie Donna, and then that's kind of watered down my Andrew O'Neill alike,
Yeah, that is the best way to get out of it, yeah. Just yeah.
Stop consuming all of their content, which sucked. But stop looking at it, especially like if I've got a gig coming up, I can't watch any Andrew O'Neill stuff. I will go and watch some other stuff, and I because me and Andrew got quite close. We've been friends for how old am I? 24. We've been friends for about 6 years, I would say. And they have the same thing with Eddie Izzard. Like you said, you did a lot of like Eddie Izzard rip-off stuff. They did that as well.
Yeah.
And no, like, yeah, if I've got a gig, like, I can't listen to Eddie Izzard before a gig, otherwise I just start talking like Eddie Izzard, and then I have that with Andrew.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
someone was like that with me, and then we
Yeah, it's
sort
a
of
shame.
connect all in.
Yeah, no, I had a very so I discovered Andrew O'Neill purely off of yeah, like I was doing I'd done stand up for about a year maybe, which sounds like like translates to about 5 or 6 gigs. I didn't do many, but like I was so yeah. I discovered Andrew through someone seeing my set, going, "Oh, have you heard of this person? You'd probably quite like what they do." And then because like at the time I was calling myself a transvestite, and looking like this same kind of like alternative kind of thing, but I'd never heard of them at the time, and so I was like, oh, you should check this out, and then I looked at it, I was going like, oh fuck, this is everything I want to be, and now it's been done. And then like that meant I lent more into it, and then got that a lot more, and yeah, and I really hated it at the time, like for a while, because it was like I was trying so hard not to, and I think like even when I'd like kind of expanded my influences a bit, just because the physical appearance at the time was so similar as well, it was really hard to get away from that. So it's why it's part of the reason why I got like I already liked Tony Law, but I got really into him from that, because that was a similar kind of thing, but different enough that I could separate it. Yeah.
You're kind of Beatles and Stones thing.
Yeah.
Fans hate each other.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think it is a really. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned is just to like not to overthink it so much, because when you do, you end up just seeing it more, and then I think just sort of expanding your horizons, watching like other comedy, and then like rather than trying not to rip anyone off, which is basically impossible. Certainly, in really early days, just try and rip off as many people as possible, so it's something unique. It's and then eventually you'll grow past that, and then it will be your own thing. But I feel getting bogged down in trying not to be too similar into someone is.
I think like I'm 5 years in, and well, no, I'm 6 years in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I stopped. Yeah, so my pandemic time was very depressed, and I stopped writing for the vast majority of it. So I don't know whether to count it or not. But like my time in comedy, the whole time I was also doing my doing my A levels and uni.
Same. Yeah.
So it was like I've been doing it a while, but at the same time, the gigs were never frequent until I finished uni, and then managed to kind of get up a bit of traction, got an agent, started booking in like more exclusively paid work, and then the pandemic hit. So,
that must be awkward. Yeah.
I was on the runway for so long, and then I was just starting to go off, and then it went bang.
Yeah, no, I feel like, because I mean, because I started around the same time as you in terms of like time of my life. So I started, my first gig was in I remember it's January the 13th, 2012. I remember that because it was a Friday the 13th. That's the only reason I remember the date. And I'm not superstitious, but when you're already nervous, it just anything that reinforces that this is going to go terribly would stick in your mind. So yeah, I was like a few months into my A levels. But after uni, I kind of like I was going through a really shit mental health time, and I had a gig at the Comedy Store booked in August, and I went to do that, and I didn't die, but it wasn't good. And after that, I was just kind of like I just kind of stopped for like about a year and a half.
Yeah, I was gonna say that'll do it. I've not done that yet. I haven't done a lot of the gigs which people who are just coming up now are doing already, and I'm like, you sure?
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is like when I do Hot Water and King Gong and stuff, I want it to be perfect.
Yeah, I've never beaten King Gong.
Oh,
I've beaten Beat the Frog. I've like the last 3 times I've done that, I've beaten it, and I got to the clap-offs the last 2 times, possibly 3 times. And like, the first time I lost to Stephen Lawson, I think he was definitely there, who doesn't do stand-up anymore, but is a very popular YouTuber by the name of Stephen Tries. But yeah, I was fine. He was also in my class. He was really good. After that, it was I've forgotten his name. It was some Canadian comedian, quite good. But the third time, it was an impressions act who had basically no jokes, and I'm still salty about that. It's just like everyone can talk like Jeremy Clarkson. This is not, but of course like. Audience of rowdy drunk people, that stuff does really well, more so than my whatever weird shit I was doing. Because I think both times I got 2 cards as well, and like not because I was like faltering, but because I mean I imagine you have this as well. When you, like, I think any character who does anything kind of alternative will have like those kind of rooms will be very 50-50 split on you, but the 50 who like you really like you, and that's always how I've ended up. Yeah, in those kind of environments.
I really need to kind of wrangle out of Andrew is how that they can do the roughest rooms with their weird shit and still like, I can't think of anyone else who can quite do it like that.
No, they're really good at that.
I want that ability. I'm gonna
beat the Frog is probably the roughest room I can do. Like that's and that's not a particularly rough room. Like it's a Monday night gig. It's
I've done 2 rugby clubs with my shit.
Yeah.
One of them I was booked for, and was fine. I went in and I was seeing how it was going down, and just slowly ticking bits off my set, like nope. I was like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
The only sex joke I've ever written, we're gonna do. It's very enviable. We're gonna do it. And I was like due for a 10, but it was when I was just starting out, and I was like, can I do 5? And the promoter was like, yeah, I want to get out as quickly as possible. I don't like it. It's frightening.
Oh dear.
The next one I was teching, but an act didn't turn up, and I think it was just after that Excess Malarkey gig.
Oh, nice.
Which was my first ever paid gig. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm a paid comedian now. Actually, I'm really good. I'm going to do this alternative comedy set for this alternative comedy club in a rugby club whose game was cancelled, and they've been drinking.
Oh no!
Hours. I'm going to do my weird stuff, and I got like. Luckily, because there's a sing-song in it, I got them on the sing-song. I got them on the basic stuff. A lot of the time, they were talking over me until we got to the sing-song. But I had a guy come up on stage and try to pick me up. I was one of the only women in the... Yeah, it was fucking... It was really...
That's terrifying.
He was really drunk, and so I, like, kind of got free and pushed him off the stage, and he just kind of went... and everyone in there was so drunk that they didn't even notice.
Oh, brilliant.
I felt really good because I was, I'm just a little... I'm all right for a woman. I'm like 5'7", 5'8", but toppling like a rugby.
In a rugby club, that's... Yeah.
God, that was a fucking horrendous gig, and I had people coming into the dressing room afterwards, or the changing room, which it was the players' changing room, being like, "Never do stand-up comedy again."
Oh wow. Fuck.
Oh, no, they were saying like, don't do that kind of stand-up comedy here, but a few of them were like, don't do it again.
Oh wow, that's I've never had anything that bad, thankfully. Like the closest I've come to hearing that is way before I like actually did comedy and just was like trying so hard to be the funny one in like when I was a teenager and just not doing it. People just be like, "Oh, I used to do stand-up comedy," but like the really sarcastic way. That's the worst I've got, and that was well before. that was when I genuinely wasn't funny. I was like 13, 14 years old. But yeah, that's that. I think I've been lucky that I just have no ambition to do those kind of gigs. Like I've not really been trying to do comedy as a profession. I've just been content doing the gigs I like doing, which has translated to like mostly my own gigs these days, and like a few exceptions. XS being one of them. XS is always lovely to do.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, no, I would not know where to start. Like sort of Raoul Coley's another one. I don't know if you've ever seen him do stand up, but he's another one who can play pretty much any room, and like it's not like he doesn't do particularly alternative stuff, but he does do really introspective stuff and does a lot of kind of really smart political stuff that would definitely be divisive in certain situations, and he manages to play any room, and it's a thing that I admire. Bethany Black as well, absolutely phenomenal at just doing any.
The first time I supported Andrew on tour in Nottingham, he had me doing 10 minutes, and then Bethany did 20 minutes.
Such a good lineup, yeah.
And I pretty much died, and then she went on and absolutely smashed it, and I was like, oh, I've got a lot to learn. Yeah. But it was nice, like me, Andrew, and Bethany, kind of, because we fulfill a similar niche. We never meet up in normal gigging.
Yeah, so. Exactly. That's always a thing. That's It is, yeah.
But-
Like, do you ever get? I guess like the only time you would be able to gig with people like you is in that when you're being asked to support them. That's never. Yeah,
or at their gigs.
yeah,
like, I can't imagine,
exactly.
If people want a bit of, they're only going to take. Even though like Andrew and Bethany definitely aren't risks in terms of they're both really, really, really good at comedy.
Oh yeah, but
and have, very long and storied and good careers.
Yeah, they're probably not going to be on the same lineup. Well, certainly not in mainstream clubs.
Yeah, and their styles are really different. But...
They are, yeah. I remember I had this. Like, I'm not going to name names because it is someone who I respect quite a bit. But one time I was booked to do this gig, and Jordan Gray was also on. Who, if you don't know, is a fantastic trans comedian. We're nothing alike in terms of our styles. The only crossover is that we are both some flavour of trans. And yeah, he was just like he was just going out of his way to like not like being apologetic, but just being like, oh, do you want to make sure that you're not going to like. Have step on each other's toes in terms of material and that kind of thing. And it's just like we don't have any material crossover at all. That's fine. And it's kind of exhausting even from like well-meaning people that they'll just think like, oh well, yeah, I don't want to make it a harder time for them. When in reality it's just kind of neutral. It's not like it can be nice in many ways to not be the only non-cishet white man on any given lineup.
Yeah, and no one says to, cishet white men, like, oh, are you going to do the same jokes about how much you hate your wife? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I steer clear of identity stuff, I say, as I've got my first gig back where I am talking about coming out as a lesbian. Is my main bit. But, I had an intro about like the goth stuff. So I feel like this needs kind of explaining.
Yeah.
And I used to have an intro joke, but I always fucking hated it. Like I don't know. It's just like it's not really interesting to me. Like now that I've done the stuff.
Yeah.
It's not interesting to me.
No, I get that, and I struggle. Intro jokes as a general rule, I find really hard to nail, which is why like whenever I get a good one, I just keep that for years. But I kind of hate because it is just like a nice, like I guess it's the way of breaking the ice, and for anyone who is remotely deviating from the norm, involves addressing that usually. Like I used to try and do a thing where I just, and this is also very much a thing that I got when trying to emulate Andrew O'Neill, where you just like don't mention it and just do a couple of weird jokes off the top, and just like kind of lap up that kind of awkwardness. That's the thing I tried to do, but nowhere near as well as they do it.
When I was doing the painting thing, that was kind of like, this is comparatively less weird.
Yeah.
And I would just end that by going like, kind of like, and then dropping it and going, anyway, and put it to the back, and then just straight into a joke. Oh, the anyway thing is such an Andrewism, like,
it is, yeah.
Why I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Andrewing my set. It's like de-thatting an essay to get under the work.
I used to start just by singing the Hokey Cokey with the audience. That was very much inspired by that kind of style of thing. And then getting them all to chant back with that's what it's all about. And then on the last verse, just getting one person to do it. And then there was like a punchline that wasn't particularly funny at the end of it. Like it was just, but yeah.
I'm involved. That's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which for me, I think was a part of it was a fear of audience interaction. It was just trying to like do it really aggressively on my own terms. Like there was this bit which I never managed to get to work, partly because of confidence and also just because of speech impediment. It's a bit that has to be very slick. I wanted to do this thing where I just like pretend to recognize someone in the front row and then try and guess their name for like 2 minutes, and then eventually give up and go like, what was your name? And then they'll say it and go, oh sorry, I thought you were someone else, and just move on. But I've never been able to get that to work because they always interrupt me and say their name, and it's like
yeah. yeah, you need to be kind of like, no, don't tell me, don't
Yeah,
tell me.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah, constantly. Yeah, I have a mixed thing with audience interaction in that, like, I find like traditional comparing really difficult, but
same,
I really like audience interaction in terms of, yeah, like it's something which I really enjoy, but only in like a kind of captive and thing when they're already on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in my show, I had a bit where I used these like two very small plastic cows, and I was like, I'm aware I should have got these bigger, but I couldn't find any. And so I was like, so if you just want to like hand those round yourselves in the audience and ascertain they are indeed small plastic cows. And what was Andrew was like, this could be like a live mouse for all you know, because it was small. And then they would like work their way around and bring them back.
Yeah.
I really liked doing that. But I was always worried that one of them would get nicked. Or oh no, one of them, someone bit a leg off one of my cows once, and I was like, I'm sorry.
Is that just part of the test? Like, nope, yep, it's definitely a plastic cow.
Oh yeah, that show was very prop heavy.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of I want to move away from. And yeah, I did an arts council project in the winter, which was more based towards clown and being physical with my own body, which you know, it comes with me.
Yeah.
I don't have to,
yeah.
like, I can't leave that behind on a train or in Shea Burnham's car or something like.
No, if you have, that'd be impressive.
Yeah. Just turn up to the gig and go.
Clowning is fucking terrifying. It's one of the scariest performances. Like I'm really glad that I've learned. Well, I say learned it. Like I haven't mastered it, but I've done like it was a part of. I did it as part of my performing arts BTEC in sixth form. I'm so well educated, and as also as like a 5-week intensive course as part of uni. Yeah, it's like I think even though the actual kind of skills and the actual kind of measurable skills for me I've not really transferred. The way it kind of builds you up and the way it makes you feel a lot more comfortable on stage after that, I found, because it is one of the most stressful things you can do as a performer, I think.
One of the things which I've kind of keep on coming back to, and I can't remember who originally said it, but like jokes are something you say while you're being funny.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
It very much helped in that regard, where I know, like I can step into my clown like a spacesuit, and like pretty much everything will probably go all right. As long as I'm wearing the clown suit, then you know, if I forget my words or someone heckles or something happens or like I trust myself enough to react to the room in a way which is funny, and I feel like it's very useful for that. I think watched Very Very by Tom Walker and was like, I went to see Elf Lions' Swan in 2017. Like she's one of my favorites anyway, but like I've never laughed so much as that performance of Swan at the Edinburgh Festival. It was stunning. Like, it was one a thing where like I'd never seen anything like it. I'd never seen stand-up or like never seen comedy performance be so kind of proppy. I think that was the thing which kind of gave me permission to be proppy, because before that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And you know, we like we were saying earlier, like you go through phases, and I definitely went through an Elf Lions phase. And she's like, that show was so good. But yeah, I just got into, and then like John Luke Roberts is also.
I've still yet to see him live. I keep meaning to. I was on about him a lot. I think he was doing XS once, and it was like the one time I couldn't make it.
The first time, when did I see him? I saw him at Amanda Palmer gig, do a little bit, and I was like, I enjoyed that. And then I went to see a solo show in Edinburgh. I think it was the All I Want to Do Is and a ka-ching and do some comedy.
Such a great title.
So good. So those. I kind of had my phase where I really liked those people, and then got really into Demi Lardner and Tom Walker like last year. And then when Auntie Donna hit in, like when their Netflix series came out, I just got obsessed with that for a while, and now I'm kind of in want of a new comedy obsession. that one's kind of petered out, and I think I'm going to discover something else, which is going to totally blow my mind.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be like that for a while.
It's always fun that. Yeah, like I had a really short but intensive Mitch Hedberg phase, and just like that.
I haven't heard of him.
He's I mean, he died quite young. I don't think he it's just this American comedian. He's kind of like the opposite of that thing that you hate with like the kind of that edgy one-liners. They're all one-liners. Most of them aren't even jokes. It's that kind of anti-joke kind of thing. I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head that I won't butcher. But just like kind of little throwaway lines like, I like to walk a lot because if I didn't, I'd just have to stay in the same place. Just like those kind of things. Just really kind of stoner humor, I think, is what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't retained a lot of that, but in terms of when I'm actually writing jokes, that's definitely a thing that I retained. Just that kind of being able to like write things that sound like jokes but aren't, but still get laughs. It's a really specific talent.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
Look up some videos. Audience enjoyment varies in videos you watch. Some of the like live performances that there's not a lot of laughter at them, but I enjoy that a lot. I was saying when I interviewed Ed Rorath like a year ago, I was saying I really enjoy being in a room when there's like a really weird alternative act on, and I'm like one of 5 people in the room who enjoy it. Like I enjoy that more than I go to actually like watch comedians I like. I just like fucking weird one comes on. Yeah, it's my favorite comedy environment to be in. Which is weird because I hate being that comedian, but
as I was preparing for She Festers, I did Alex Hilton ran an open mic in Loughborough, and I went and did my shit, and afterwards, and it was good because the crowd were again like, what the fuck, and then I brought them round because I'm kind of a big thing which I'm kind of learning how to use is I'm quite charming because like I think a lot of my ability came from I was severely bullied in school because I look like this and came out as bisexual and then as a lesbian twice very young stood up for myself, but I managed to convince the majority of my bullies not to bully me because I just got them on side by being funny and nice to them.
See, that's what I tried to do, but I wasn't good at that.
Like a borderline manipulative way. Like I can use the force for evil. But I did this gig for Alex Hilton in Loughborough, and it was one of those ones where you are in the room that is the pub and there are people in there who don't want to see you, but I made it work. And afterwards he said like, Katie's one of those acts where I enjoy watching her, but I enjoy watching the audience watching her come on. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting.
Is that a compliment? I don't know, but it's one of those.
It's a little backhanded, but I'll take it. Hilton, book me again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as you're going to book me again and pay me, that's fine.
For sure.
End of the day. I've like barely touched any of the questions I was going to ask, and we're nearly 8 o'clock, so I'm just going to whiz through some of these. So we've kind of, I mean, I've used it to describe you a lot, but do you consider yourself an alternative comedian? Because I've said that a lot.
I think I kind of have to in terms of when I never worry that someone's going to be joking about the same things as me. And I'm still trying to find my niche because I still kind of genre hop a lot. I'm hopping less and the hops are more deliberate. But
deliberate hops.
Deliberate hop.
It's a good fringe show name.
I'm at the deliberate hop stage of my career.
It's a good name for a craft beer, actually. Deliberate hops.
I'll suggest that to Alex Hilton now he owns a pub. We're like, what do you consider? I was going to say, is that like a, when comedians, people are like comedians, like, oh, you can use that for one of your skits. Like, that can be a name for one of your beers. And he'll be like, I don't actually know the beers. Profoundly not how he talks. Anyway, let's not.
It's fine. I don't know if you've ever met him, so that is how he talks in my head from now on.
He talks like this. It's amazing. way more, like even more like that than you look at him and it doesn't make sense it coming out of his face, but he does. He's a very lovely man.
Yeah,
It's really funny. What was the question?
So yeah, I was saying, do you consider yourself an alternative comedian? And off the back of that, what does alternative comedy mean to you? Because that's a really wanky question, but it's basically what I did my dissertation on. So I just really like getting other perspectives from other people who fall into that bracket.
Yeah, it's weird because like comedy itself is kind of, you know, like if you're booked at a comedy club, you're kind of, it's not as, comedy isn't as segmented as music is. No. Like you don't like in the same way you have like metalheads and punks, you don't have like people who are only into alternative comedy. That comedy is a genre and there's like subgenres. It's different.
Yeah.
So
post-progressive alternative comedy.
It's incredibly nebulous, and I read in my school library there was Oliver Double's comedy.
Oh yeah.
Like
I think I read
Sarah Millican.
Yeah.
And that was. That one he talks about the history of how like you know, comedians were like used like a folk pool of jokes like folk musicians do, and then alternative comedy with people who wrote their own material and performed it, and then now that became the mainstream. So having the new version of alternative comedy I think it's weird, you know, it's by definition nebulous, and there's people who embody some of those things. There's like it's for every rule you make, you're going to be excluding someone important. Because, like, even someone as popular as James Acaster, I would kind of include in the bracket somewhere. And there's obvious stuff, like, in terms of props and imagery and, like, being surreal. But there's enough, like, popular people who do that. And, yeah, I can't think of a like, distinct box you can put it in, because it's kind of against the point not to be like, oh, labels for soup cans.
Well, I suppose the definition would be like whatever's not like mainstream popular thing, but that is obviously always in flux. So it's always just an interesting. Look how
popular Eddie Izzard is, and he's one of them. She is one of them.
Yeah, she's one of them.
One of us.
One of us.
Every pronoun. Eddie
Got there in the
and me are the same. But like
we are Eddie.
Yeah, and it's hard to kind of define yourself as anything that's not mainstream, because when you become mainstream, what the fuck are you?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not even convinced. Like, because I use them because it's shorthand to like people understand enough to know what it means, but also they're really not good definers at all.
No.
Like,
and you know, I do want to be mainstream successful.
Yeah, because you want to be able to eat. That's
exactly. That helps.
Yeah.
And I think that the public's taste for weirdness is underestimated. Because you know how popular like Python is,
Python,
and how popular,
Boosh,
like,
and that kind of thing.
Boosh.
That was huge. Like I think because it's popular with alternative kids in terms of like when you go into like those kind of subcultures. I think but it was still hugely popular. Like
it reminds me of
like could you done a bit less of the blackface, but like in terms of, like
I'm a massive Reeves and Mortimer fan, and do I have a like made it way more blackface? But it's kind of I think about it like, I don't know if you've seen the start of Booksmart, but her whole identity is that she's like really clever and works really hard and is really good at school and views everyone else as slackers and that she's better than them. And then it's like the last day of school and she goes round and everyone is going to like Harvard and Yale and big universities, and it's just like more normal. And she was like, no, being clever and going to Harvard was my thing, and now everyone's doing it. And it feels a bit like that. I used to think like, I'm so weird and different and edgy, and I'm not that weird and different and edgy. No. So
and like I'll never say it to them, but like because people do, because like there is that whole kind of like argument that like right-wing comedy is now alternative because it's different to what everyone else is doing, and like I don't agree with that on many levels, but there is an element like to the kind of premise behind it that just makes like alternative is a weird label for those kind of things that in the 80s was obviously a backlash against exactly what the right wing comedians are trying to bring back. But like at the same time, you had like fucking neo-Nazi punk bands that would like
yeah, for sure. And yeah, I question the originality of being as offensive as possible.
No, yeah, exactly.
And there are people who have done the whole like offensive as possible thing, who are phenomenal joke writers. So like the Frankie Boyle heel turn into going from taking the piss out of children with Down syndrome to using his like incredible
proper
wit
glow up he had,
like real glow, real glow up. Hey, let me be the first to say yes, Queen.
Your webcam is frozen on stream now for some reason. That's probably my fault, but we're going to wrap up soon anyway, so I'll just give you so I think we'll just use time now. We haven't had any questions in the chat. We've got a new follower. Thank you, Miranda Stevens, for the follow. Actually, Kurt,
thank you, Miranda.
When I was working at Wonderground, the women's staff / act toilet was broken, so the men's became unisex. But I don't think they told Paul Foot, and he gave me a very awkward double take when I passed him on the way out one time. Oh, bless. But I love Paul Foot. I was very lucky to do support for Paul Foot at group therapy. That was, and he is because you get those some comedians who are just like really boring and like just completely at odds with who they are on stage. But Paul Foot's just always Paul Foot. It's really weird. Like Like I don't know if it's just because I met him before a gig and like he's a bit more heightened than he would be otherwise. But yeah, it's fascinating that. Mark Sounds, I think I got the exact same advice about art. It's so true. Yeah, exactly. Spread out all of your rip off as many people as possible, and then you're ripping off no one. It's great. Wonderful. And hi, nice reminders. Thanks for joining. You're back. Wonderful. So perfect time for you to basically say what you've got coming up. So you have or any other where people can find you. Your socials are obviously all on the screen.
I'm going to be doing for like necessity. So because I've been fantastically depressed, and now I'm not. I have it's amazing what you can have all the therapy and antidepressants in the world, but if you're depressed about being a lesbian, if you just come out, it'll go away. It's amazing. The real glow up. But my social medias have been sorely neglected, but follow them because I'm doing an overhaul very soon. I've got a podcast with the comedian Leslie Ewing Burgess. We recorded a new episode yesterday, and so it should be coming out probably on Thursday. I've had a little break, but the past episodes are really good. Can recommend the episode We Fight, which has the guy from Mortal Kombat in it, where he gets the name of the podcast wrong. The good thing about A Fun Time with Katie and Leslie is it's right at the top of the so it's right at the top of the feed, which wasn't deliberate but helpful. And then the other thing is me and Robbie Owen, also known as Squidge Rugby, are writing a sitcom. So that's been the main thing I've been working on for the past few months. And looking exciting. We've had some meetings we had a meeting with the guy who commissioned Spaced, so that's pretty fucking cool.
Oh, wonderful. That is really cool, yeah.
Yeah, we were shitting ourselves. But
for Not Depressed says actually Kat.
That's coming soon. But trying to work out where I can put, I've spoken a lot about comedy and there's not much of it on the internet at all.
No.
And I need to.
You've got I mean, when I was Googling your name, you've got a show coming up at is it Nottingham Comedy Festival or something later this year?
Oh, yeah. Still working out what I'm doing with that one. It's mainly the stuff which I came up with during the Arts Council project I did in January, which is kind of very clowning based. But also, I made that show in a padded room because it was in an aerial studio and a place called Circus Hub. So literally a padded room, and now I'm like, if I'm on a stage, I can't throw myself on the floor that way, otherwise I'm going to break some bones.
God, no.
Yeah, working out how I can do that show in real life. But come see it. Also, I've got an upcoming date at Camden Fringe, which is sometime in August. My phone's died, so I can't look it up easily.
Absolutely. I'm sure if Kirsty's free, she'll be going along to that. And yeah, we'll be plugging all this on social media as well. So if you're not already following Blizzard Comedy on everything, do that.
Thank you. Yeah, go follow them on everything. They're very cool.
And you can follow
You get good content like this.
Yeah, and you follow Katie Mitchell on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. I don't know how much you're using all of them, but you can follow her on them. So
I'm gonna get on TikTok, Twitch, maybe not. Actually, give me a follow. Fuck it.
We'll see. But yeah, all the links are in the chat, as well as a link to where you can listen to the podcast. So thank you very much for joining us, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
I see that Bethany Black is live, so let's go give her a raid. Let's go do that.
Everyone tell us that we were talking
cannot...
shit about her.
Oh no,
I don't want to know how much I like her.
Oh no, it's saying you cannot raid this channel. Oh well, that's a problem. It might be.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't. It might. I don't know if I'm following her on Blizzard. That might be the issue. Because well, in which case, I will go.
I mean, you know,
yeah,
yeah. That tells the story. I got raided by Nazis once, and it sucks.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, she might have just disabled that. Well, let's see. Who else have we got? A few people live. Angel Interceptors. Yeah, let's go raid Angel Interceptor. We'll do that. Interceptor, who is just chatting, so I don't know what she's doing, but I'm sure it'll be fun. There we are. That's working now.
Go tell her we say hi.
Will do. I've just realised I've completely screwed the... There we are. That's better. Great show. Oh, thank you very much, Hotstorm Production. Thanks for coming to watch. And yeah, our next scheduled show is our next Blizzard Comedies broadcast Avalanche on the 26th of this month. But we may do some streams before then, so do follow us if you're not already. We've been doing some gaming streams, and we'll be doing... Oh, we've got another one of these actually next week. We're talking to William Stone. Same time. Yep, that is whatever next Tuesday is.
Yeah, he's a male one-liner comedian who I actually really like.
He's absolutely phenomenal, yeah.
So good.
He is. Right, thank you everyone. Let's go raid Angel Interceptor. Bye. Okay, that's done. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
That.
It was fun.
Yeah, I had a lot more questions I was going to ask, but just got sidetracked from that, so yeah. Might do a follow-up at some point, but yeah, thank you very much for that.
Hey, yeah, thank you for having me. That was really nice.
Yeah. I have to go nip out to the shops before they close, so otherwise I'd hang around a bit longer. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right, and see you soon. Bye.